Hello and welcome to my channel. So I believe this is video number 2 that I'm uploading today, and that's all right. You saw the title. You know that I am talking about the mess that unfolded between the TikTok creator Modern Warrior and the creator Chelsea Heart Is Me over the past week. What was so crazy to me about this, and if you're not on TikTok and you don't follow any of this, I'm gonna sum it up for you and let you know what happened. But what's so crazy for me about this is that it was everywhere and it wouldn't go away. TikTok is an app that is run by an algorithm. Everybody knows this. So like what surprises me so many times is I can look and somebody has 1 million followers. I've never heard of them. I'd never heard of these 2 people before this happened. I had no idea who they were. But because of the, I don't know, I guess because of the public interest, and I also think because of the sheer amount of media that Chelsea was producing to talk about this issue, the algorithm was like, hey, you get some, you get some, you get some. And it did not go away. It did not leave our screens for about a week. In fact, as I'm recording this now, I can still log on to TikTok at this very moment and catch people doing hot takes, summaries, talking about what they feel. There was so much fallout from various creators and like the relationships they had with each other. There were people that people revered very highly on the app, like Aunt Karen. And I say people, everybody's different, but I know she definitely had a very, very strong following, still does. And she's got a reputation for being like this social justice warrior. And she said some things about this situation and people were like, she needs to be taken off of her throne. I mean, it was just a very strange week in this app that is a lot of times seen as being this place for individualization and, you do your thing over there, you'll find your audience, you'll find your niche. But for some reason, this situation brought us all in. We were all Chelsea's niche for a minute. We were all in there as Chelsea emoted and recapped and brought allegations that were problematic and may have not been true, weren't true, against this Modern Warrior person. We were all there, and a lot of us didn't really want to be. I have gotten to a point where if I see anything about them, I just scroll up or scroll away because I think it's just too much. But there was something about the situation that stuck out for me, and it wasn't the millions of other things that I have seen people talk about in regards to this. I mean, there's just so much, and I'm going to link an article about the whole situation below. What stuck out to me was this whole situation started because you had one person who believed beyond a shadow of a doubt that their feelings and expectations about a situation were being returned, and they believed it only on potential, and they had no real proof. And because of that, they went into the situation and they got their feelings demolished. And I, of course, identified with that because something similar just happened to me. Now, it didn't happen to me like that, but it did happen to me where I went into a situation and I thought, okay, this person and me, maybe we see each other the same way. There's no way he can miss what this is. And I was wrong. So before I go any further, let me recap for you what in general happened in the situation. So you have Chelsea and you have Modern Warrior or Lance. And apparently they had a friendship and it developed into something more. They've known about each other for about a year. And for about 6 months, they've been moving towards, or Chelsea believed they were moving towards romantic status. Chelsea said that Lance was there for her when she was dealing with the aftermath of another situation. That's always a tough relationship. The person that comes in with you when you're already hurting from something else. Very tough. I look at those types of situations as, hey, you were there to hold my hand while I was in a dark place, but we probably won't be able to stand in the light together. And that's just how it is, right? But to Chelsea, they were moving towards a romantic situation, a romantic status. And Chelsea claims there was a conversation had, and the true romantic nature of their relationship was discussed. Lance brought up the topic of polyamory, which of course means having more than one partner. And Chelsea said, no, I am not interested in that. That is not what I want to do. Lance said, okay. So they continued to get close to one another, and eventually Chelsea flies out to go see Lance. And while there, proceeds to have unprotected sex with him because Chelsea believed, I am the only partner that he has. I hope you're still with me. So then Chelsea comes back, and according to Chelsea, not even, I want to say maybe like a day after, in a very short period of time, Lance is posting on TikTok that he's on a date with another woman. This rips Chelsea apart. And eventually she gets on TikTok to tell the world about it. Now, as a person who has dealt with their rejection in this way, I mean, clearly I've done story times here on this platform. I very much was uncomfortable watching what she did, and I'll tell you why. I believe that no matter how much another person hurt you, unless you have their direct consent to tell the story and to really paint them as a character in the story, you never get to use their first and last name. You never get to talk about them in an arena or an environment where they are also very well known. And you really need to speak up about it when you're emotionally removed from the situation. And really, for me, it just goes back to completely violating their sense of privacy. First and last names, no. Nobody would have known, I don't think. And from what I'm looking at, the articles and everything else, I don't think anybody would have known that they were in any kind of relationship unless Chelsea came out and did what they did. But Chelsea didn't stop there. The videos kept coming, and they kept getting more and more emotional and more performative. And initially, everybody was on Chelsea's side. Who hasn't been in a situation where a man has straight up lied to you and it made you look ridiculous and now you look foolish? And it turned out that like he'd been with a lot more girls. It was messy. And so people were like, okay, yeah, we understand. We've been there. You know, boo this man, boo. But wait, what did you say? I don't think you should be saying that. No, you can't talk about him like that. And that's when it got extremely messy. And there were some that were deleted where she was basically like scream crying. It just got very, very awkward. The hot take started. There were so many people weighing in on the situation. So again, I want to go back to what I noticed in the story, which was you had this person who assumed that the other person saw them just the same way that they saw that person, if that makes sense. That their interpretation of each other was reciprocal, was the same. Now, I'm not gonna lie and say that Lance could not have been putting on a show. Absolutely. There was a TikTok video I saw the other day, and this girl was like, you know, you guys always talk about how women should pick better men and forget that men can cosplay as a decent individual until they get what they want. And the comment section, instead of people being like, oh, girl, shut up, you just want to be a victim. Oh, girl, shut up. The comment section was like, girl, he waited until he waited until we got married. Girl, he waited until after I said I do. Yeah, girl, he went on for 6 months and I thought I knew him. I think the lady who posted that video was right. When somebody wants something, they can definitely show you what you want to see. But my question is, why do we buy into it? Why is it so easy for us to just automatically assume they see me the way I see them? Again, like I said, as somebody who just went through a situation like this where I thought there's no way he can't see all the signals. There's no way he can't see all the signs of the universe. I mean, you know, I basically quote the title of his book with the words reverse the first day I see him. We have the same shows we like. I mean, I think we started making out while a true crime documentary was on. We have similar things that have happened in our family when we were growing up. We had similar like, how can he ignore all of these things? I'll tell you how. It comes down to your interpretation of reality and how it differs from someone else's. So when people study consciousness, when you have like in the schools of philosophy, when people study consciousness, there is relative consciousness and there is collective consciousness. Collective consciousness is what we think of as the truth. Like, for example, everyone can agree right now that I am talking. But what I am talking about, what I am saying, and how I am perceived, that's relative consciousness. That depends on an individual person's ideas, values, and beliefs. And nobody is the same when it comes to that. And so I think a lot of times we go into a situation with a new person, especially when you're dating, and you may see things or things may seem so important to you because of your own relative consciousness. It means a lot to me that this young man was a ... It meant a lot to Chelsea that Lance ... But it doesn't mean it has to mean a lot to them, especially when you get down and you start talking about issues of exclusivity in relationships. Lance brought up polyamory. Chelsea said no. In his mind, he's still a polyamorist. He still can date whoever he wants to date. He can do whatever he wants to do. In my opinion, Posting the TikTok with the other woman was very passive aggressive, but it was sending a clear message that, like, listen, I don't want to commit to you. We've done what we're going to do, and now I'm moving on. It's tough, but it was what it was. It kind of reminded me of when people say, like, when you're waiting to see if somebody's going to text you, or you're waiting, oh, am I ever going to hear from him again? Silence is a response, right? That TikTok that he posted, that was a response. However, she didn't perceive it that way. She perceived it as this person who has who should have the same values, ideas, and beliefs as me, has done this thing, and now I'm betrayed, and now I'm going to make upteenth videos about it on social media until my entire professional platform is questioned. And I think she's one of the creators that would like actually make real money on TikTok. There's not a lot of people that can say that. But Chelsea posted and shared so much that the pain that was being expressed completely stopped being taken seriously. And they became a meme. The remixes that were made to her, like, crying videos, Chelsea was a punchline. By the middle of this week, when the account was officially, like, when there was no more posts on Chelsea's account, the meltdown was a meme. And I posted some of them to my Instagram account, but I don't think everybody on Instagram is on TikTok, so people are probably like, what? But I know in particular, one thing was the word Womblands, because at some point Chelsea had said, I feel this pain deep in my Womblands, and everybody was like, she say Womblands? And so that became a joke. And Chelsea was talking about something very serious. The loss of a child, even though it wasn't his, that was a whole nother story. Whatever the case may be, the reaction that was had completely had to do with the fact that there was an expectation of behavior based on this idea that both of them had the same reciprocal importance in each other's lives. And it just wasn't true. I wanted to make this video not to necessarily provide any new hot takes on the situation. There's so many of them all over the internet. This is one of the first TikTok situations, I think, that you just enter the little name in, and just article after article after article. What happened with Chelsea and Lance is actually my worst nightmare, because it is becoming notorious for being pitied and for being, people feel ashamed for you. And I'm just like, ugh. And I think that's another reason why when I look at some of the comments that I get, I'm like, girl, you may want to say something a little different from time to time, because I don't want to end up in that situation. I don't think anybody does. And I think even though we have this cult of vulnerability now, I think that that's something you have to be aware of. Like, please make sure that when you're sharing, what you're sharing doesn't come back and bite you in the butt because you make yourself look like a clown. I do think what Chelsea did was extreme, though, so I don't think everybody is going to come to that end. But anyway, the way they're being written about and talked about, my worst nightmare. I'm saying that to say I can't say anything new about the situation. It's already been said. The only thing that I feel that people are missing is when we look at it, and if you do happen to be a Chelsea, if you have been one of those people in life, which I know I have, I was just recently one, where you get into a situation with somebody and you say, okay, I feel this way. They're important to me because of ABC, and you expect the other person to think the same, and then you get hurt. How do you prevent that from happening? In the situation I went through, the young man was able to, finesse me because I really, really did not think about the fact that the things I thought were important were not necessarily important to him. And I even think about how I tried to set a boundary when we first met, and I was like, you can't come over to my house. Well, he came over the very next time we talked because I believed, oh, well, there's no way he'll be able to deny our deep connection. When he sees what I see from the situation, we'll just be locked in. We'll probably get married in June. Okay. But again, what I didn't take into account was that he's got a whole other set of values and beliefs. He's got a whole other story that's being written in his life. He's got a whole other set of events and situations that may have meant way more to him than the things you're connecting with him on. For you, he crossed off all these boxes that made him an absolute in your life. But to him, you're cool to talk to. It's nice that you took an interest in the work. Astrology. So really, really, when I saw the situation, I was like, we got to be careful that we don't project so much of our own sense of self-importance when it comes to our personal narrative onto somebody else and assume that they're going to regard us with the same intention that we regard them. So again, how do you protect yourself from this? Because one thing I will say is that I only dealt with my situation for like a week. Chelsea was involved with Lance for 6 months, which is another reason why I think the pain was so great. It was a prolonged period of time to believe that something was a thing and have it not be that thing. I have a friend who met a guy and they really connected. She was like, we talk all day on the phone, we laugh and laugh and laugh. And there's a really strong physical connection as well. I was there the day that they met. The day they met, she's like laying in his lap. She's got her arms around his neck. She's kicking her feet up. I mean, they are flirting. It's very palpable and very magnetic. And they went on one date and she was like, oh my God, like the chemistry is out of this world. We're always touching each other. We're always kissing on each other. Like it's crazy. And I was like, oh, okay. Then they went on another date where she says that he really brought up like getting physical. Like, let's do it today. And she has a very hard and fast rule about that, only within the confines of an actual dating relationship, which is totally understandable. And where I thought I was. But to go back to my situation real quick, I really did think that like he was going to be in love with me because how could he not? We were the same person. But that was my interpretation and not his. Moving on. So when this guy, after 2 dates, wanted that with her without giving her any sense of security, without giving her any sense of, commitment, the answer was no. But here's the deal. All he would have had to do was take her out again and again. And maybe she just needed a little bit more security in the situation, which I think is totally understandable. You also have to know this. I know some stories where a woman has dated a man for 3-6 months and not done anything. And then they finally do, and the dude is gone, So there's really, even when you do whatever you're going to do, it doesn't mean that the person's going to stay. So she really just needed to see more of what else are his goals, what else is he offering. Now, my friend is in her 30s. This guy was 50 years old. He had kids, but he'd never been married. So she could tell, like, this is a man who doesn't really value long-term commitment in relationships, and she still wants that. So the no was for a lot of reasons, mainly because for her it was too soon, but really she was like looking down the line at, okay, I just don't know what it'll mean if we do this. I don't know what it'll mean for my life as a whole, right? So she tells him no, and they talk maybe once or twice more after the date is over. He never talks to her again. 50-year-old man stopped talking to this girl, stopped talking to my friend, this young woman, because she said, we can't get intimate after the second date. And me and her were like, why was it so easy for him to let you go? If you tell me that y'all are able to talk all night long, y'all are able to laugh all night long, you guys connect, you have this crazy chemistry, why couldn't he just give you more time? Why wasn't it? And it comes back to that whole concept of relative consciousness and collective, like in our minds, these things are important. In our minds, these are good. We don't want to lose people that make us feel like this. But we don't know what he's experienced. We don't know what he holds dear. We don't know why you can never take for granted that somebody sees the situation the same way you see it as. You can never have that expectation. And so my friend really did the best thing by standing in her boundaries and then giving it time. And so if I could go back to Stephanie from February, that's what I would tell her. Hey, maybe give this some time. Again, I didn't know, but if I could go back, that's what I would tell her. And going forward, that's what I would tell myself and anybody else. If you meet somebody and you're like, this person is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and I think we are going to invest and we're going to get to, make sure you have specific boundaries and make sure you give it time. Because you do not want to be in a situation where you are screaming and yelling and clutching your womblands all over social media, and eventually you become a joke, and maybe a platform that you could have used to make money off of and make a career off of for a long time, you then end up becoming the black sheep of. And I know that that's extreme, but just to bring it to regular life, you just don't want to put yourself in a position where you're going to experience any pain. And if you do get into a situation like that where you meet someone and you're like, there's no way they can ignore. Look at all these signs. Look at all these things we have in common. And the other person doesn't get it. Don't take it personal. It's really just comes down to, We are all experiencing reality in different ways. And even things that seem crystal clear to us may not seem that way to the other person because, well, they're not us, and they're entitled to their own perception of reality. So be kind to yourself if you are out here in these streets and you get bamboozled. And at the same time, if you find someone and you guys are able to see things eye to eye, do a little praise dance. Because I think just like we take for granted that people will be on the same page or they're not, we take for granted when we meet people that are. And by all means, if you do go through something like this, share it with social media if you must. I know I have. But remember, there can be repercussions and pushback to that you might not ever recover from. And in that case, you may want to keep it to yourself, or at least wait until you've stopped crying about it before you bring it up, because then you might get turned into a meme, and nobody wants that. Womblands. Thanks for watching.